Hey there, Wargamers, and welcome back to another Wargames Delivered video. Be sure to visit us at wargamesdelivered.com to get the paints, miniatures, and supplies used in this video, and also to refer a friend. You guys will both get a $15 discount, and with that, let's get into the video. In this video, I'll show you how I go about painting my plague weapons featuring the Great Plague Cleaver. Now in this step we're going to use gunmetal to cover the entirety of the blade of the Great Plague Cleaver, and beforehand I used matte black and weapon bronze to paint the handle and the hilt. And you will need 2 thin coats of the gunmetal here to get a nice dark metallic color out of it. And now we will be going over this area with a wash and a few other paints, so just keep that in mind and really try to establish a nice even base tone with the gunmetal in this step. And if you're interested in picking up any Army Painter paints, we have an exclusive deal for all of the Army Painter paint lines, where if you buy 6, you'll get 3 free paints of your choosing with your order. Be sure to visit us at wargamesdelivered.com. There will be a link in the description for this promotion below. And now if you'd like to stick to speed paint strictly for this mini, you could also switch over to Broadsword Silver for this step. You're really just looking for the darkest metallic that you have available to you to start from. Now as always, when you're working with metallics, try to be very careful around the areas that you've already painted, especially that flat black that we used on the handle of the Great Plague Cleaver. And now that the gunmetal is dry, we're going to move on to the first and only wash step of the mini. Using strong tone here, you can use dark tone. I actually went with strong tone because it has a little bit more of a brownish kind of color to it. Will help with making the blade look a little bit more rusted and kind of dirty overall. And this step is pretty straightforward. Just try to coat the entirety of the blade and avoid any excess pooling on any areas that you don't intend it to be on. If you do notice any pooling, just go ahead and take your brush and wipe it away, move the wash to a different area that needs it. From those 2 steps, we have a nice foundation for the rest of our blade here. Now moving on, we're going to use plate mail metal, and we're just going to do a quick Drybrush Highlight over the front half of the blade here. We want it to look nasty and rusty, but we still want it to look capable of cutting right through somebody. And of course, any steps that we do on the front of the blade, you'll want to repeat on the back of the blade as well. And for the next step, we're going to switch back over to the Speed Paint 2.0s, going for Forest Sprite here, and we're just going to use this to simply kind of dab all over the Great Plague Cleaver. This is going to give it that sort of diseased, nasty look when it dries. And the way I like to do this is just sort of dab it on it first and then start moving it around a bit until I'm kind of happy with the result. Again, we will be going over this with another kind of technique and another step, so just keep that in mind. This isn't the final result. If you have the classic Speed Paint Malignant Green instead, you can absolutely use that as a substitute for that step. And now for one of our final steps here, we're going to start stipling Dry Rust, the effect paint from the Army Painter, all over the blade of the Great Plague Cleaver. This will create a awesome quick rusted effect that will dry very matte on the blade. Obviously leave pockets of metallic and the forest green poking through, and you can kind of do this in layers because it will give you different colors if you stipple more on your previous layer of the dry rust. And finally, we'll switch back to weapon bronze to paint the power supply on both sides of the Great Plague Cleaver. You can also go back to the strong tone or flesh wash and go over this very quickly after it dries for a nice shading effect. And if you're interested in picking up some of the classic speed paints before they're gone, be sure to visit us at wargamesdelivered.com. We have the classic speed paints, and if you pick up 10 of them, you can get 5 of them for free. Just be sure to use the code CLASSIC, all capitals, at checkout. There will also be a link for this promo in the description below. And with that last step finished, the recipe for the Great Plague Cleaver is done, and he is ready for the battlefield. As you can see, all those steps were pretty quick and easy. Just takes time in between the wash and the speed paint drying. Thank you guys so much for watching. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more painting tutorials, and also be sure to check out the top link in the description for the giveaway attached to this video. Thanks again, guys, and happy wargaming!